friends who are present over here and have taken interest in participating in this conference. The presentation which I am making over here is talking about challenges and how they have been resolved in the voting in India. India has used both forms of voting, the ballot box voting and the DRE voting also. And obviously, each of these methods have faced a lot of problems. How we have addressed to these challenges is something which I am going to recount. Each and every challenge which has been posed to these systems is very important for the R voting that we are talking about. They owe their roots, they emerge from the roots which are very common to the voting system as such. Ideally, you look at the voting system as such, we want that everybody should vote. He has a right to vote. Whosoever he is, he has a right to vote. And he should be enabled to vote. That's the duty of the government to see that he's voting. And that's the reason today we are talking of our voting, because such people who are not available in their constituencies, being on duty, are the ones who normally get neglected or left out. The present system, which is our postal ballot, is very, very cumbersome. Regarding the voter identity and authenticity, Professor Muna has talked. There is no need to discuss it too much. It has little to do with DRE also. The voting has to be fair and free. Almost every objection, almost every doubt that is on the voting system, be it the ballot box, be it the e-voting, be it the I-voting, will emerge from the simple statement that we want to do a free and fair voting. As far as free voting is concerned, it means that the voter should not be under any duress or under temptation to vote for people. He should not be under fear that his vote will be revealed and he will be penalized later by the party concerned for not voting. And the freeness comes from the fact that he can vote without any kind of a doubt in his mind that his vote will be revealed or he is being sort of pushed into a corner to vote for somebody as such. Other part is fair. Now, free voting has a lot to do with the law and order machinery in the state. It has also to do with the voting patterns. If you vote on the internet and your vote is revealed, you have a fear. You have a fear of internet when you do e-commerce, when you do a bank transaction. You are always worried whether your transaction is being properly done or you are being wrongly charged for items. So you have fear when you're dealing with internet because of the reported cases. You have equal fear of voting through the DRE methods because there are issues which are involved as such. So freeness has got to do definitely not only with law and machinery, but also the methods of voting as such. Fairness has to do with the way voting is organized. If you are doing a ballot booth kind of a voting as such, you have to establish the fair pattern there also. If you are doing through a DRE, many attacks are reported as to how a DRE machinery can be made very, very unfair. And similarly for the I-voting as such. So, if we look at a history of what kind of objections people had, I think they can be traced a lot to fair and free principle of voting as such. A few implications we talk about is that every eligible voter should be able to vote. And Professor Muna did talk about how you can take a voter attendance and how we can ensure that double voting doesn't take place, how you can ensure that somebody else doesn't illegally vote against your own name, etc. These cases we hear so often. A person goes to a polling booth and he's denied, although he is an eligible voter because records are not proper. At the same time, we also, in past many times here, that some people are not allowed to vote. They were forcibly some other people voted for them as such. So, firstly, every eligible voter must be allowed to vote, free from these encumbrances. And where's the vote is? Our voting conference is about wherever the person is, he should be allowed to vote as such, exercise his vote. And enabling to vote is the duty of the government. We have to see how to do it. You have to provide a convenient location and ambience for the casting of the vote as such. Firstly, ballot paper is used a lot across the whole world and almost not used here in India today. You have a ballot paper which has the names of the candidates and political party symbols as such, and all that the voter does in the booth, that in place of secure and with the ballot paper invisible to others, he stamps against the candidate of his choice. And then we have a ballot box in which he puts his vote in. Obviously, putting the vote in the ballot box is in full public view, whereas the stamping of the voting paper is in privacy. And when the counting occurs, you collect the ballot boxes in one place and count in full public view votes which are come through. The challenges for the ballot box voting have been to deal with huge populations. They do not go away with the DRE or the EVM systems that we are using. Challenges are still the same. You are dealing with huge populations. You have to expeditiously do the voting as such. Voter identity has been talked about. Vote confidentiality also has been talked about. The vulnerabilities of these ballot box voting have been vote stuffing, where polling booth is captured, and then you put tens and hundreds of votes in a matter of few minutes inside the ballot boxes. You stamp and put these things. Don't hear of it much nowadays. You don't probably hear of it abroad at all. But at our times when we were children, when we were growing up, this is so common a news that this has happened. Booth capturing, even worse. So the genuine voters don't even get to go in, and you have the complete booth being captured. Or you capture the ballot box after the voting is over, when it's being transported. These have been the main issues that we have faced in the country, and perhaps the muscleman problem, capturing booths and taking over the ballot box and the booth, etc., have really happened in remote places. They are real events. And how to deal with it, the Election Commission has really spent a lot of effort in trying to see that the elections are fair and free. They post observers which are special in sensitive areas. They videograph the events. They keep a strict vigil, whether liquor, money, or whatever, to see to it that people are not discouraged from voting as such or coerced into some kind of a voting pattern as such. This is a huge, it's very easily said that you put security and all, but the deployment of polling officials, the threat which they face, the amount of security which is needed to ensure a free and fair poll is really mind-boggling, it's very difficult. And that's the reason people are wanting to escape from this kind of pressures coming up. They still happen, you can't escape it. You are in a mountainous region, you are in a hilly region, you are in a remote region, and somewhere or other is going to happen, you know. So, the nagging issues was primarily to deal with the muscle power which is involved in ballot box voting. Counting was extremely laborious. You count once, twice, thrice. If there is a close, and the counting is very time consuming. Logistics are very cumbersome. You tend to vote in phases as such. So you say phase one, that particular areas, then you move the security to some other area. So there is a huge logistics which is involved. The ballot paper is not costly, but managing the ballot box voting is extremely costly and doesn't give very satisfactory results. You always hear of some kind of problem with this. E-voting in place of ballot box using electronic voting machines. Knowing fully well the pitfalls of a direct recording of the votes in electronic manner, also policy decision was made in the country to introduce EVMs in the country. And when this was done, the internet and many other activities were at a very low key across the world, fortunately. And for that reason, also recognizing that the computer's hardware and software is not foolproof. It is prone to virus attacks, it's prone to manipulations and all that. The direct recording machines in the country went for what you call as a one-time programmable chips as such, where once you program the chip, you cannot rewrite any program onto it at all. So hopefully, that isolates the DRE of this category from any kind of a computer attack or a virus attack as such. And for the EVMs, a lot has been debated in the country over the decade, not only from within the country, but also from experts abroad the country who have done experiments with EVMs taken out from the stores of the country as such. So we will discuss the challenges later on. We will see the features first. That despite these features, we have challenges. So you have a control unit, which is electronic memory in which all the votes are being registered. And we have a ballot unit, which is the electronic form of the ballot paper as such. So that has got the names of candidates and party symbols. And you have a button which you press to select the candidate and LED lights in front of it. And you can see over here the ballot being cast, the vote being cast using ballot unit. This vote being cast is then transported electronically via cables to the control unit, which is a memory which records the votes as such. Appears very simple. The control unit is with the presiding officer, and the ballot unit is kept secure, where you can press the button in privacy as such. And this control unit then, at the end of the day, carries all the votes as such. So once the voting is over, you seal the control unit. Sealing has been a technique which is still prevailing across the board. You seal a ballot box, you seal the control unit as the carrier of the votes, and then carry this control unit to a counting station where all the control units are kept, and then you start reading the results from the control unit one by one as such. The results are out in from few minutes to few hours in any constituency as such. Looks very simple, it's very fast. When you are preparing EVMs of polling, with fair and free being the criteria, then pre-poll, the manufacturers are responsible to do a first level check, and the first level check, you certify that the EVM is their own, is genuine, certify it is working properly, certify that the code is genuine by their own authentication means, conduct mock polls to verify that whatever votes you are casting are really being properly recorded. Poll officials also on the day of the poll and before conduct mock polls. And this has been the means of verifying the machine is working all right. If it works okay over here, otherwise it's weeded out if there are some errors. All this is done in front of the party representatives to show that nobody is tampering with the machine or doing anything to it as such. Some strengths of the Indian EVMs versus those used elsewhere is that it uses a one-time programmable chip, code cannot be rewritten, vote stuffing is not viable because you time the delay between the two votes as such, so you cannot really stuff votes. Votes are date and time stamped. You cannot cast votes after the poll, obviously. Counting is very fast, but there is always a perennial but. You take all kind of precautions. The but always comes, the but never ends, and the but allows these conferences to go on. One can list many pros and cons of the debates which have occurred over the years. The Election Commission of India, one of the reasons why it is respected across the world is that it has been very open to any kind of a challenge. It has been open to any one person who complains against the EVMs on the ballot. You listen to them, they see if it makes any sense, they try to investigate whether that is possible, and then they resolve the issue. It is because of their persistent efforts in dealing with every complainant in a very fair and free manner, in an open manner, that has gained a lot of respect from the Election Commission. As part of the technical expert committee, we have had to sit hours and hours and hours to figure out how all EVMs can be tampered with, try to explain why it can be tampered with, and try to see demonstrations on it. Now, we forget about the many court cases and many ways people have complained. The central issue in the direct recording of electronic the votes is that transfer of vote from BU to CU is electronic and not visible to voter. You see a button being pressed, you may see LED being lighted, you can hear a beep, but what is signal is going from the ballot unit to the control unit. You don't see it happening. You can see your ballot paper, you can see your stamp, you can see that you put it inside. No issue with that. But it is not visible, the vote transfer is not visible. And even if it is OTP, people have argued, what if people burgle into your storage spaces and change the chip or change the EVM card? So what do you do with that? We know it's not logically possible to do this on a mass scale. You may do it on a 1 or 2 case basis, but I don't think you can do it on a logical basis. But there's no point arguing that, look, you can't do it. You can't logically change every chip in every EVM, which are lakhs of EVMs present over there, without it coming in public noise. So the commission, looked around for solutions. Now, this is not that India is the only country using the e-voting. Other countries are also using similar kind of patterns. And the solution was floating around, not very complicated. That is, print the vote. You print the vote and keep a track of it, then you have an audit trail with you, right? So how do you do it? We say voter verified. Voter is verifying that the vote has gone there. He was complaining that I don't know where the vote has gone from BU to CU. I just think that there's a cable connected, there might have been some signal gone, and the memory might have recorded correctly, but I don't see it. So he can verify. He has to be satisfied. I'm the voter, I have to be satisfied. Vote is properly registered. And there must be an audit trail to prove later on that it went to the right person as such. So with due consultation with political parties and other representatives from civil society, opening was made to introduce in the EVM VVPAT, a voter verified paper audit trail. Now, machine can now see that you have got with you, besides the control unit, which is the memory, the ballot unit, which is you are using for stamping, electronically stamping, a printer, which is going to print the vote. And the way it works is that you can see the vote actually. When you're doing pressing the key on the ballot unit, you actually see a vote being printed over here. It lights up, you can see whom you voted for, and then it gets collected and stored in a ballot compartment as such. Later on, you can count the vote. So the voter actually sees what he has pressed over here. He has a guarantee that that vote is being stored in a voting place as such. And you can see now that the window is black. You want to keep the vote confidential. Nobody should be able to see it. So only when you press the button, it lights up. It prints the vote in your presence. In a matter of few seconds, you have a small print with the symbol of the political party, the candidate coming out. And that print copy, you can see that the symbol which is coming, there's a name which is coming, etc. You see a lot of other small dots here and there, but I'll not go into the details of what these dots are doing in this place. And eventually, these votes fall internally into a ballot compartment. Later on, if you have a doubt that my vote didn't go properly, the candidate complains, it's a very close call. The polling officer has all the rights to decide that, okay, we will count these chips. The voting result is as per the EVM or what the control unit has said, but if you have a doubt, we will count. Of course, when the design of this unit was being done, a lot of trials were held across the place, a lot of mock polls were held, and we got very obviously, if the code is honest, it is going to match. The EVM count and this is going to match. It is to satisfy a nagging doubt that today's EVM is very good. What in future if some bad guy gets in charge of it and then starts altering all these chips and all that? It's that kind of a hypothetical situation as such. Then the other issue is, the point was, okay, the code was written honestly. There is a technical expert come to me, observed the code, looked at it, says very honest. What if the manufacturer programs something else? Who is going to be the watchdog for the code integrity? What if after the EVM is released to the commission, the somebody modified the chip in between or modified the code in between, and so on and so forth. So for this, we have got with us a separate code verification unit. The manufacturers were doing it in the FLC earlier, but now we've got a specific unit which actually checks even one bit of the code going different is detected by the system. So there should not be any doubt that the code is being modified at any stage. You can check the machine at any stage as such. And yet another thing, if you want to change the chip, you have to open it to change the chip or a card. So we have a tamper detect system which actually completely disables the machine if somebody tries to open the machine. There's something else also which are not mentioned, and that is the EVMs today authenticate each other. So if we have the manufacturer's EVM, which are authorized manufacturers, then the EVM works. If somebody tries to make another EVM, which is a lookalike EVM, it will not work with that at all. So there is a discovery and authentication system which also works today as such. Despite all this, I'm sure the but will continue and will push us to more and more serious work in the EVMs. For us, it's not a nuisance that people complain. I think when people complain, we learn what may be wrong with our designs, what could be improved as such. It is therefore, a very heartening thing that despite so much of challenge to direct recording of the votes electronically, this country has a lot of faith in these kind of EVMs. It's a continuous effort which has been put to see that as with the challenges come, we are able to resolve those challenges. Today, conference is an old need. The old need is you have your defense staff, you have got your service officers, you have your government officials who are doing for polling duty. How we can enable them to vote also. That's what our voting is about. It requires a new kind of e-solutions. And the postal method which has been devised is definitely slow and cumbersome. On one hand, your voting is finished in a day's time, counting is finished in a day's time, you press a button on the control unit, say result button, you get all the results with you. Here you have a postal ballot which is very slow as such. So, to incorporate inclusion of such people, the Election Commission of India has now started debating whether we can have some kind of a use of the internet, because that's one communication media which is easily available, very rapidly available as such. And moment you have a computer and internet, the security issues immediately pop up. The main issues, of course, are that traditional computers have a hardware and software which is very difficult to protect against kind of attacks as such. Every day we hear something or other happening. We have an internet infrastructure which also is prone to interference from outside. Email transfers are also known to be leaked out very easily. So even if you are not trying to tamper the data, but you reveal who voted for whom, you have done the damage that you want to do as such. It is against this known background of threats that a very conscious and cautious step. We heard Professor Muna talking about the kind of voting he's talking about is that you have a form being coming to you and a form being sent back the postal methods. So internet is only for downloading the form, whereas the postal method is used for delivery of the thing, because the data is the vote which you casted. That's the data. It has to be kept confidential to the day of voting. The voter anonymity has to be maintained for that. It's a big challenge. I was just talking with one of our industry experts here, and he says we have something like a dozen e-commerce frauds happening every day. We detect them. And you can't afford to have even one case of voter data being disclosed or modified. There will be scandal. So a very conscious and cautious step is being taken. We should all understand that free and fair voting is the one phrase which will also has to be considered very, very carefully. And in that context, it is very nice to see people who have worked on security systems being present over here. Also, the Indian industry is also part of this conference. We hope, and I wish the people who are participating in this conference the very best to do a meaningful brainstorming and to come up with some solution so we can also overcome this challenge. We are not here just to criticize. Criticize, yes, very easily done. Criticize the must so that we know what the objections are. But after criticism must start the constructive resolution of the challenges being faced. The challenge is an old challenge, fair and free voting as such. So I wish all the best. I also thank the conference organizers for giving the opportunity to be having a dialogue with all of you. Thank you so much.